welcome everybody to another great evening of learning and diving into very, very interesting topics on the My Self-Reliance channel. Kelly has asked me to step in for her today as she is away. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Murray Fleming. I run a home delivery food service business called Country Meats Direct, which I've been doing for 10 years now, and it delivers farm fresh food Sydney-wide. We specialize in free-range meat, and a lot of that comes from my family's farms. And when I get to step in for Kelly, I get to give myself a shameless plug. So tonight is a very, very, very interesting night. We have an amazing guest speaker, Greg Evans, who has a truly remarkable story to share with everybody. It's one of those stories that I probably won't do a lot of speaking through because it's just so interesting to listen to him. But before we introduce Greg and get started, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So we have a permaculture afternoon coming up at Catherine's Place, which is in Londonderry, which is sort of northwestern Sydney, towards the base of the Blue Mountains. And that is the Saturday, the 31st of August at 2:30. And the address is in the chat. Reach out for anybody who would like to come along. And then in October, from the 18th through to the 20th, we have the Freedom Summit, which is a 3-day event, which is like a festival, but it's been renamed as a summit. And over those 3 days, we will be going through numerous different topics regarding self-sovereignty, health, how to build communities, and how to thrive in this crazy, crazy world. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's talk. Greg, I guess the first thing I heard about you, which really interested me, was how much money you've spent on getting healthy, because I thought I had spent a lot of time and money trying to get healthy. For those of you who don't know, I've suffered an autoimmune disease myself. So I made health my hobby some 10, 11 years ago to get better. And being sick can be very expensive, win, lose, or draw. And life is, too short to make all your own mistakes. So, I like to try to pass on the knowledge I have, but I also really respect and enjoy listening to people like Greg. So Greg, if you could sort of introduce yourself, let us know, how much you spent and how long it took. So maybe, you can help fast track some other people's health journeys.
Yeah, good evening, Murray. Thanks to you and Kelly for the opportunity to introduce people to the redox technology. It's only been in Australia since 2014 and it can't be commercially promoted because it's a particular industry tied to buy the technology, the 7 international science patent. So I've got to read out a disclaimer as well. The said products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. Because this evening is recorded, I will not use any medical term on this recording. I've spent so much money because I've got 3 children with neurological disorders as well as myself. My son got increased muscle tone. Some of you would recognise that. You've seen the children with the increased muscle tone. My son has another son's got a spectrum disorder. My daughter had a stroke at 18 months, 3 days after a particular treatment. And we thought that was rare 30 odd years ago. And then when we flew to Royal Children's in Sydney, there was a whole ward of children that were in the same condition. Right. And I started having seizures in my mid-20s after doctors removed the growth from my leg, lymph gland from my groin, and they left me with a blood clot on the brain. So for the next 35 years, I experienced multiple seizures per day without warning. At some different stages in my life, it was 20 a day. I had brain surgery in 1985, 2003, 2018. neurosurgeons in Melbourne were going to drill 10 holes in my head, implant 10 electrodes for 10 days. Then they're going to move the electrodes, and 90 days later, they're going to move brain tissue, and I was going to require medication and full-time care for the rest of my life.
Wow.
I've got that in writing. So there was not much we haven't spent money on over the years with the children. We were seeing kinesiologists, iridologists. We had chelation therapy in Sydney when we were younger to remove heavy metals. It's an American sort of thing where you go on a drip and it's got vitamin C and other things in for removing heavy metals. We went to the Australian Institute of Human Potential for 3.5 years, which works out programs for brain injured people, whether they're a stroke, car accident, or born with a lack of oxygen at birth. So we're there for 3.5 years. We're lectured on the brain and diets and things. And when I first started having seizures, they thought I might have had a growth on the brain. So I did a living course at the Ian Gawler Foundation in Victoria as well. Our biggest cost was probably lost productive time. Once I had a seizure, fell off the back of the truck, landed on bitumen, snapped my Achilles, surgery, bedridden for 10 weeks. But I suffered a lot of other conditions over that period of time. I had a sleeping disorder where I used a mask for 20 years. I had anxiety, depression, slurred speech, double vision, erectile dysfunction in my 40s, every man's dream, because they had me on 3,000 milligrams of anticonvulsants a day.
Wow.
And in 2018, when they were going to do that surgery, I was having 6 and 8 seizures a day, 1,500 milligrams of anticonvulsants a day, and wearing men's sanitary pads. So I was introduced to ASEA in 2018, 60 days on the product. I was able to cancel those 4 invasive brain procedures because my seizure pattern changed, which was massive for me. Previously, I had no warning. Then when I was in the seizure, I had no idea what was going on, and then it'd take me a while to recover, and that changed where I got some warning. I was a little bit aware, and I'd recover quicker. So I cancelled those 4 invasive brain procedures. 90 days, I started going periods of 30 and 40 days seizure-free. The neurologist wanted to start me on a new drug, but it was only new to me, and no one else had been in Australia for 3 years. 9 months, I had no further seizures. 12 months, I was off every form of medication. 21 months, I was able to go and have a medical for a driver's license after 30 years. They refused to do all neurological tests, all blood tests. One of the questions on roads and maritime, do you suffer from blood pressure? They asked me, they didn't take it. Today, I am over 5 years without any symptoms. Over 5 years off every form of medication. I've got no symptoms of any other conditions I suffered with before, like high cholesterol, sleep apnea, anxiety, depression, incontinence, erectile dysfunction, or any of those other conditions I suffered with over the years. So I just wish this technology had been around when my children were small, but can't live in the past. So I just look at helping other people avoid what I went through. Our family were deprived of the privilege of, I was deprived of the opportunity and privilege of fulfilling my commitments as a husband, father, and a member of the community because I was physically and emotionally not up to it. My children missed out on a lot, and my wife basically became a full-time carer very early in our marriage with our children's problems and my problems. So then after 39 years, we basically had nothing in common because most men, they work to avoid confrontation. And when you got to perform, we run on adrenaline, which is a flight and fight hormone. And if you can't cope with the situation, you don't communicate very well. So now just things have changed a lot in my life, and my boys wouldn't use the technology, and my daughter that had the stroke at 18 months, all brain injured people become low in oxygen. It doesn't matter how it happens. And when you're low in oxygen, you catch everything goes around, you have other treatments, you end up with allergic to gluten, sinus issues, and all those other problems. Well, she's no longer low in oxygen, allergic to gluten or sinus issues, and she's had 2 healthy children. So the redox signaling molecule was acknowledged an integral part of our immune system in the 1998 Nobel Awards. And after 15 years of research, atomic medical scientist Dr. Gary Samuelson stabilized the same molecule that's made inside the body, outside the body, in a drink and a gel. And in Australia, the drink comes into Australia under the Health Food Act. In America, it's actually sold as a supplement. I've got 2 medical reports acknowledging redox for my recovery. And there's a cell signaling supplement, and it's quoted on the American packaging that I see as a redox cell signaling supplement, and I've got that on my medical reports. So I offered to be a case study, and I was under a team of 10 doctors. And at that time, I looked like that. And so you can imagine how many doctors were interested.
Wow.
So there's 65,000 people in Australia take it for every form of condition, because everyone's condition is directly related to their lifestyle. Everyone's condition is cell damage caused by oxidative stress. And there's only 3 reasons for all conditions. That's pollutants, pathogens, and the EMF. So if you detox, treat for worms, parasites, and bacteria, and have EMF protection, you will get your health in very good order. On a sea, your cells detox 4 times quicker than normals. So that brings your pH into balance and your hormones into balance. You'll have a lot more energy and all those sorts of things. So the redox signaling molecule is naturally made in your body in a 3 to 4 hour cycle, but at the age, and in every cell. But at the age of puberty, there's a reduction in the production by 10% a decade, which is your aging process. So by the time you're 50, you've only got about 40% of your immune system left. So, and as all you're doing is topping up your signaling system in your body so the body can heal itself. You still need all the materials. They are your nutrients and things are the materials for repairing cells, but you need the labor force, which is the signaling system with those redox signaling molecules. They're critical to sustain life, critical to maintain health, and critical to become healthy. So, and I did a naturopathic course with a Russian doctor last year, which was extremely beneficial. Angelina was 22 years a pediatric specialist in Russia. And in Russia, to become a naturopath or a doctor, you must study naturopathic medicine, herbal medicine. She's probably the best practitioner I've come across in 4 decades, and we've seen plenty. So I just help people open their own wholesale account with the company. The product gets delivered to your door. Because it comes into Australia under the Health Food Act, it can't say take X for this condition, Y for that condition, and so on. And because I didn't take it properly in the first place, I started on 60 ml twice a day for the first 30 days, and I rang the bloke and said, "You've sold me garbage." And he told me to double it, and that's when everything changed, and I was able to cancel the 4 invasive brain procedures. So I didn't know anything about the gel. The gel increases circulation by 50%. So I use it plenty of it in all different parts of the body. Put it on your carotid arteries that supply the brain, and 3 major hormone producing glands with the blood. The pituitary gland, your belly button, is 72,000 veins attached to that. I apply it to under the rib cage, both sides, where your spleen, pancreas, liver and gallbladder are, and also to the kidney areas. That helps those organs detox and improve organ function. So when you've got all those things working properly, that makes a big difference. We have 3 signaling systems in our body. Cell signaling, which is a transfer of electrons with the redox molecule. Anything to do with muscle and movement is through the brain and central nervous system, and its ability to perform and recover is governed by oxygen. Probably the most common neurological disorder in Australia is one when people can't actually breathe out because they've because of pollen or something like that, triggers a seizure, and the diaphragm muscle freezes, and then I inhale a treatment, and it's only a muscle relaxant, and the quickest way to get that muscle relaxant to the brain is through the lungs. So the other main signaling system in the body is the endocrine system. We've got 8 major hormone producing glands, 5 are above the shoulders, 3 in the rest of the body. Now, they are the natural chemical messengers in your body responsible for mood, emotions, and all organ function. So people with blood pressure, it's got nothing to do with the heart. It's the adrenal glands make your blood pressure and go up and down. You know, people get cranky and they'll say, "What's your blood pressure?" That's the reason, because you produce more adrenaline when you're under stress. Whenever the body's under stress,
it's very interesting. The story sounds familiar, almost a bit like how people describe nitric oxide and how it's it's a baseline signaling molecule. Is there any parallels between like I'm no chemist, but
no, because these are active molecules native to the body, whereas
okay.
nitric oxide is just a chemical that triggers a reaction within the body.
Okay. And what you're discussing is, in business, you'll say, you've got downstream thinkers and upstream thinkers. An upstream thinker is somebody who will walk up the river and try to work out why the water has stopped coming down the river. Whereas a downstream thinker will be like, well, I need to dig a well and I need to get the government to supply a helicopter and, all these sort of things. Disease, it starts somewhere. There's always a catalyst. And so what you're saying is if you can get to that part of the I guess the disease program, if you can get to the front of it, then after time, and for you it was it 9 months you start seeing good results?
60 days, I was able to
60
cancel
days.
procedures.
Yeah,
And if
wow.
I knew what I know now, I would have done a lot quicker, because I also use that redox signaling molecule supplement in a nebulizer, because it turns into a vapor. And that's the quickest way to get those molecules into your brain, your blood, your lungs, and all your hormone producing glands, your 4 vitals. Lung cells heal quicker than any other cells in your body. Oxygen is critical to sustain life, critical to maintain health, and critical to become healthy. So your ability to perform and recover, whether you're a supreme athlete or someone with a health challenge, is governed by oxygen. It's like breathing's the first thing you do when you're born and the last thing you do when you die. So oxygen is the main material in your body to go into your body. You've only got to be deprived of it for a very short time, and you end up with a lot of cell damage, especially to the brain. You can see people with strokes and things who've only missed out on oxygen like that.
Definitely. I worked out recently that I've been mouth breathing a lot when I sleep. So I've started trying taping my mouth closed to to force myself to breathe through my nose. And when I do that, the next morning when I wake up, I feel like I've got so much more energy.
Yeah, when they tested me, I stopped breathing 36 times an hour.
Wow.
And I used to, when you stop breathing, you wake up, because that's the body saying wake up, and you think you need to go to the toilet, but you don't really need to go to the toilet at all by the time you've been up 3 or 4 times. But that's just a signaling system to get your body breathing again. And it's the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood that stimulates the blood flow to the brain. Big part of my son Jason's program when we went to the Australian Institute of Human Potential. He had to wear a special mask 60 times a day for 2 minutes, and they'd be 7 minutes apart. So the program took 10 hours a day. We also had to do what they call patterning, because he used to crawl like an injured animal, a gut shot rabbit, head cross patterning in the arms, but none in the legs. So we'd do patterning on the table and that sort of thing. But the aim of that mask, it would run out of oxygen, and it's the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood that stimulates the blood flow to the brain, because it's the first to require oxygen. It's priority. So all of a sudden, these people with a brain injury, you can't tell them to take a deep breath. They haven't got that physical control, like saying move your arms and legs. So all of a sudden they go, so it builds up their diaphragm and gets all that working, lung capacity, and all of a sudden that increased muscle tone, whether they've been car accident, whatever, they all start to loosen up because they get more oxygen. That increased muscle tone, and quite often you see children in a wheelchair and their mouths open this wide, it's because they're starving for oxygen.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
yeah.
I remember back in the old days, if a kid had anxiety, the doctor would give him a paper bag instead of about 50 pills, and they would say, just breathe into this bag a few times. It really is very interesting how all this is related to the most simple, everything's related back to something so simple.
Yeah, and see, anxiety and all those things are, again, are hormone related. Addiction's hormone related. Doesn't matter what it is. One of the worst products you can have is coffee. It's a brain stimulant. When I was having seizures, if I had coffee, I would have a seizure within 5 minutes. That's what the other reason, because it's being a brain stimulant, it's addictive because it's a drug, and you see people lined up every morning to get their coffee. It is also
I'm one of those people, unfortunately, Craig.
it's also a diuretic, which means it shrinks your veins and arteries because you're dehydrated, and affects your circulation. And nothing makes you more acidic than coffee.
Yeah,
So
wow.
your homeostasis is based on your pH, and that's another good test people can do to see how healthy you are. pH test. Um, I'm also encouraging people to have a live blood test with a naturopath, especially anyone that's had recent treatment for a condition that was going around, and it was compulsory for some people. All the naturopath does is prick your finger, put the blood on a microscopic slide, and the structure of your blood will come up on a big screen. A good naturopath will tell you whether you're low in oxygen, got pathogens, blood clots, and all those sorts of things. And it's a very simple test and very accurate for your health.
Whilst you had to do the disclaimer at the start, and obviously we can't make medical claims, anecdotally, with recent interventions and procedures, people have obviously tried this redox molecule, and has there been any success that you've heard of?
Yes, for those that were injured, there was a young man that then ended up with a heart condition and then a heart attack. He's 30, he worked in the mines. He's actually contacted Jared Rennick's office, or his family did when it first happened. And now he's had a full recovery and passed a medical to go back into the mines. Another young lady had blood clots on the lungs that bad, her organs were shutting down. She was only 19. Her family contacted Rennick also. And I worked with a young lady in Melbourne that had arm tremors, hand and arm tremors, and her legs would collapse from under her, and she had pains in the chest. Well, she's had, her mother heard me speak at an off-grid festival a couple of years ago, and that young lady's had no symptoms for a couple of years, because basically their condition's no different to mine or my children's. It was all caused by treatments, and toxins, although there's more toxins in the recent stuff. So honestly, like I said, your cells detox 4 times quicker than normal, but I encourage everyone to also treat for pathogens, worms, parasites, and bacteria. Dr. Hulda Clark wrote the book The Cure for All Diseases and The Cure for Cancer. In that, she had a 3-year holiday in a jail because people didn't like what she was saying, but she identifies every pollutant and every pathogen with every condition. She speaks about frequency in her books, and there's a man in Western Australia actually makes frequency devices. They're under $200, and I treat myself for pathogens on a regular basis now.
And that device, Greg, that's when you say frequency, you're saying like a sound frequency.
There's two electrodes you just hang on to, and each day it kills a different range of pathogens. When you go through the cycle, it's got 24 cycles, and do one cycle each day, and it takes you an hour to do it. You have 7 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 7 minutes on, 20 minutes off. and then the next day you just change frequency. And
that sounds like a very interesting machine. You're coming to the October summit.
yes, I am. I'll have
Would
a
you be bringing that machine with you?
it's only a little thing. It's not much.
I,
Yeah,
I would just love to see it in the
it's
flesh.
only as big as a mobile phone, but I'll bring one along so people can see what it's like. I'll have the ASEA products there.
Yeah.
I also do products from Switzerland, water purification devices, Aquacat, and they work by frequency also. Same company makes EMF protection devices, and they also make organic products for the soil, water, plants, and animals. So I was
Last
introduced to.
time, last time we spoke, you were mentioning something very interesting about farming and um, and deterrent of pest. Is that the same company?
Yes, same company. They also make a product that you can spray onto agricultural land that'll keep wild deer and wild pigs off. It's used in a lot of countries already, and it's now being used in Australia. And I'm just currently at the moment trialing a product to keep kangaroos and wallabies off agricultural land. You just spray it on. So I've been doing cereal crop where I am. Um, Two universities in Tasmania, they sprayed it on with a helicopter. They're planting forests there, so it's to keep kangaroos and wallabies off from eating the younger plants when they're first growing. And a man in Western Australia has been trialling it on a turf farm successfully as well.
Does it work on politicians?
It works on frequency. I'll work on politicians, mate. No.
Because I was
Yeah,
thinking, if they can get it to work on kangaroos, maybe globalists are next. That could be one of our first lines of defense.
I know, but they probably
I love it.
it would be like at Canberra when they hit us with a frequency device there a couple of years ago, wouldn't it?
That's true. I remember that.
Microwave weapons and people were peeling. I know the leg I had lymph glands removed from. It swell up and it was that hot I had to sleep with it on an ice pack for 3 nights. I know another young man that's in a wheelchair, it knocked him out. I know another lady was working in the kitchen there. She started bleeding internally.
For
I
those of
treat
you who don't know what Greg's talking about, there was a very big freedom inspired rally at Canberra, and the government security or the federal police, whoever it was, brought out this weird box looking device, and they pointed it at the crowd, and then people started getting feelings of what Greg's just describing.
very sick, and all the ones that were staying at the Epic Centre, I had a EMF detecting meter there, and they had the 5G wound that high. It was making people sick there as well. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just another period in our lives. So,
And the other day when we were chatting, I was thinking about something you said because you mentioned the three causes of most sicknesses being pollutants, parasites, and EMF.
yeah,
Um, and I was mentioning my condition, and when I first got my very first symptom, which was an itchy head, it was just after the really big floods in the Hunter Valley, and I left Sydney and I went up and helped Dad with the fences, and I was in all the dirty water, and then the next day I woke up with an itchy head, and then a few days later I'm getting rashes all over my body and my lips are swelling up and I've got pains in my chest. The timing of that would make a lot of sense.
yeah, because there's some diseases caused by ticks as well. So I don't know whether you got bitten or well, but
Not
there's
that
no
I'm aware of.
there's no such thing as a skin condition because your skin is fed by the blood, and a rash is just a natural detox reaction. And all skin conditions relate to the liver because the liver is a filter for your blood. So it's got two jobs to get rid of the toxins in the body, and if it can't cope with all the toxins, it goes to your skin in the blood. And the other the other thing the liver's got to do is to break down the fats in your blood, which is your cholesterol. But everyone needs cholesterol. Most of your brain's made up of cholesterol. And
Breast milk is cholesterol.
yeah, so and if you go to all these aged care places where people have lost their memory, you'll find they're been on a particular treatment for cholesterol.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how the brain basically swims in good fats, and they tell us that fats are bad for us. And then everyone goes, I wonder why everybody is having these, mental health challenges later in life, why that's escalating every year.
Yeah, so it's all the toxins in our food, water, environment. Medications are all sold, administered, and dispensed under the Poisons Act, and the toxins released from worms and parasites, and one of those is morphine. So there's 300 species live in humans. Infestation is unavoidable in our environment, and they're part of our life cycle like every other animal. And they're in our food and all sorts of things. My granddaughter that's 6 months of age, she started stopping breathing for about a minute and a half. And when she went to hospital, the doctors put a heart monitor on her. But I said to my daughter, anything to do with the breathing is related to the brain. Anyway, so she had tests, she had a cyst on the brain. And after 6 months, she's no longer got it there because we used the redox technology, also used oxygen. Parasites and cell dividing conditions do not like oxygen. And we used a special massage that the Russian doctor suggested. So, so anyone that has cysts, people tell me they've got cysts, the first thing I say, if you've got parasites, because they lay a larvae, and that larvae attaches to an organ, and the body naturally forms a cyst.
Yeah, wow. And so when you said oxygen, do you literally mean like oxygen mask or?
Oxygen in a cylinder. Yeah.
Okay. And one thing you touched on at the very beginning of the conversation, which I don't think a lot of people would have heard of before, chelation therapy, which is the removal of heavy metals through the administration of an IV. Is that right?
That's correct. But I wouldn't need it now or I wouldn't go through that treatment because it was expensive, but because
that was the question I was going to ask, because when you go through chelation, it also strips out some of the good things as well, right?
Yeah. And so with your ASEA, you detox 4 times quicker than normal, so I wouldn't need it. You got to drink plenty of water on ASEA. You need to drink 2 to 3 litres of water a day because your cells are detoxing 4 times quicker than normal. If you don't flush those toxins, all you're going to do is shift them around in your body. You're not going to recover as quick as you should or get the benefits from the product either.
Well, that makes sense. I know from personal experience, sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit down or I feel like some illness is coming on, if I go for a massage, the next day I'm so much worse because the masseuse has pushed all the sickness all around my body.
Yeah, well, you haven't drank enough water either that day,
Yeah,
have you?
most likely, that's right.
I drink hot water because your cells are activated quicker.
Oh wow, that's very common in Asian cultures. Do you think why they do it?
More than likely because they're more switched on with health than the people in the Western world.
Yep, definitely. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that in ancient Chinese cultures, the doctor would only get paid when the family was healthy, and when people were sick, the payments would stop.
Yeah. So, you know, a healthy person has many wishes. An unhealthy person ever has only over one.
That's right. Well, life is too short to be sick. And at the moment, we are under such a coordinated bombardment of, EMF, pollutants, chemicals in our food, parasites, which is, a whole nother discussion. I guess, boosting that detox ability of the body makes a lot of sense because our body is not in the environment it was designed to be in.
No. And I drink more now than when I was sick, for the simple reason it slows down aging by 7 years in 10, because your immune system determines how long you live. So if you're topping up your immune system each day, you're actually slowing down aging. And if you see people that have been on the product for 7 or 8 years, they look 10 and 15 years younger and perform 10 or 15 years younger than people their same age. I'll be 69 this year, and I perform better physically than most 50-year-olds. And I know that's not bragging, it's just a fact, because I'm never healthy. I've got more energy because you've got no pollutants in your system. You sleep so much better because your hormone levels are all better. It enhances athletic performance. It's been passed by the Olympic Committee. There's some Sally Diamond that swims for Australia. She's on the product for her health. Lorene Bavat lives in Melbourne. She's 5 times world karate champion. It's a McDonald lady. Can't think of her first name. She swam for Australia also. Lovely people you get to meet. Like I said, there's 65,000 people in Australia take it for every form of condition, and the first man to find out about it was Danny Doyle. He had 2 forms of a self-dividing condition in his blood. He spent 2 years getting treated at St Vinny's in Sydney and told to get his affairs in order in 2014. Heard about this technology in America, went over there, and then he came back, had great success with his health, and he just introduced it to other people, because it can only be promoted by word of mouth. And on the bottle it'll say made from deionized water and salt, and I've got that on my medical reports. But it's a 16.5-hour electrolysis process that changes the chemical structure of that product, of those ingredients, to form the same molecule that's naturally made in the body. So
yeah, I'll be honest, when I first heard of it, I was a bit skeptical. So I did a bit of research, and there's actually videos of people getting different types of water and doing tests on each different type of water. And when they get to the acina with the redox molecule, you see the difference straight away. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, well, if I sprayed salt and water into your eyes and sprayed a sea, you'd have a whole different reaction. And actually at Canberra, when everyone was pepper sprayed, I actually had the ASEA there in spray bottles, and I treated all the ones that'd been pepper sprayed their eyes. And the paramedics asked me what it was, and I said, well, it's got 7 international science patents, but you're not allowed to know what it does. But I give them all the information on it. I said, because your cells detox 4 times quicker than normal, that's why their eyes are going from red to white, and it repairs the cell damage.
It's interesting as well what you said about the people in the sports community using it to boost performance. It reminds me, I was listening to a podcast with Professor Robert Clancy, who's one of Australia's, I guess, best sort of immunologists. I think is his title, and he used to give proactively give the swimmers, the Australian swimmers, what was it? I think it was hydroxychloroquine before the meets, because what he worked out was that the level of stress and the increased training before the meets would reignite underlying viral conditions like Epstein-Barr virus. And so they would proactively treat the athletes beforehand, and they had such great data. And I think we won the most gold medals that year we had, in history, which is quite incredible. So people need to pay attention to those people that are, they're working, well, they're performing on a much higher level than us mere mortals.
Yeah, the other thing, one man did 5 Ironman events on 5 Hawaiian Islands in 5 consecutive days on this product. So what it does, when you're on it, it takes stored fats to use for energy instead of glycogen from the muscles as well. So that's why you recover, and you're not as worn out, basically, because it increases the CO2 max in the body.
So if someone's on, say, a ketogenic diet and they're already, fat adapted using fat for fuel, would there be any difference with using this sort of product?
Whatever nutrients and whatever diet you're on, it enhances all those products. So because even when they're on it, those products don't work in your body without your natural redox molecules. So if you increase the amount of redox molecules in your body, that increases everything. And it's the same with stem cells. Stem cells won't work without redox molecules.
Yeah, wow. Well, we all know how important they are.
Yeah, because they can replicate other cells in your body.
We're going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. I'm just quickly checking through the chat. There is a question. The machine you were talking about before with the frequency, is it a Healy or a Zapper or something else?
Oh, it's a Zapper.
It's a Zapper. Okay, cool. And if
Yeah.
anyone else has a question, now's a great time to pop that in the chat. What are the main active components of the redox molecule ASEA product? I might be able to answer that one.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So the main active component is the redox. It's RE, isn't it? It's not RA.
REDOX.
Okay, so the main component is the redox molecule, and that is formed by the process ASEA puts this it's basically salt water, isn't it, that goes through a special process over a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, but the water is deionized, which means it's had the oxygen and minerals removed, right? And actually deionized water is no good for your health. If you just have deionized water, because it's got no oxygen and no minerals, so you're drinking dead water.
Okay, so before, when you said you need to drink more water, you obviously wouldn't be including the ASEA water in your daily water count or intake.
No, because it's not actually water. It's no longer H2O.
Okay.
And I don't count any other fluid like juices and things. All the things that have got to go through the liver and kidneys, it's still got to go through a process. Whereas water.
Yep. And if somebody had a specific health challenge that they feel this may help them, from your experience, is it something that you should see a benefit after, what did you say before, around 60 days?
Yeah, well, most people will experience improvement well before then, because I'll tell them how to use it. I'll learn from my mistakes and other people's mistakes, and there's a testimonial for every condition, and because this works on a cellular level, every condition is related to cells.
Okay.
So, and there's research out by the University of Bath in England and the Western Sydney University on the redox molecule using the product ASEA, and I can provide all that information. There's a testimonial for every condition bar none.
So what about just in the chat here, type 2 diabetes? Have you heard of any? Because obviously that's quite prolific now, isn't it?
Yeah. So we probably shouldn't be recording.
Obviously, yeah. Well, anecdotally, a friend of a friend.
Right. Well, if I had that condition, this is the first product I'd use, because there's plenty of testimonials for that condition. It's hormone related and it's related to the pancreas. So it's going to repair all the cell damage in the pancreas.
So when we have a friend of a friend that has a type 1 diabetes.
Yep.
Yep. Same thing.
Same thing. There's only 3 conditions, like I said earlier. There's not, like in my family, there's the same anyway, whether I'm not used. Cerebral palsy, Asperger's, stroke, and epilepsy, right? 4 medical terms. None are genetic, but they're all cell damage on the brain caused by oxidative stress, right? So there's only one condition, cell damage caused by oxidative, and that's the same for everyone. It doesn't matter what fancy name it has. It's cell damage caused by oxidative stress, and it's either caused by pollutants or pathogens, and people are exposed to those from conception in the mother. So pollutants, and like that's why inherited diseases are inherited, because the parents have been exposed to pollutants and or pathogens or both. Worms and parasites absorb heavy metals to protect themselves, and that's where. And then when you're born and you're living with your parents, you inherit the same ordinary lifestyle in the same environment. So that's how all your inherited diseases occur. You just need to detox, treat for pathogens, and protect from the EMF, because the EMF affects everyone's frequency, and our whole body runs on frequency. If you look at the way the Asians do acupuncture and all that, they're working on pressure points and energy lines. Your pancreas is related to your large toe, which is the first one they chop off when you've got sugar, and your feet become more acidic than any other part of you. All conditions are inflammatory. Whenever we've got cell damage, our body naturally creates fluid, and that reduces circulation, and that's where you get pain. And pain is just nature telling you need oxygen and nutrients to that area of your body to repair the cell damage in that area. Your feet become more acidic than any other part of you because you poor circulation. So there's a number of things people should do to improve their health. They can bathe in bicarb soda. It's a good lymphatic bath. I bathe in it for 3 hours when I do it. The Germans tested it for 1, 2, and 3 hours. And you detox, and it improves your lymphatic system. I usually drink 120 ml of ASEA, jump in as hot a bath as I can stand with 500 grams of bicarb, and I usually drink 2 litres of water while I'm in there, and I can still lose 2 kilos.
Wow. My doctor's just said the exact same thing. She said I should be doing Epsom salt baths with bicarb.
Yeah, if you do Epsom salts, you can't stay in as long because it's a detox bath. And when you're detoxing, after a period, you start reabsorbing a lot of the stuff you detox.
Oh, wow.
Because your skin is a carrier, not a barrier. Right?
Yeah, wow.
So all those people with so-called skin conditions, and they start putting chemicals on it, they all end up in the liver, don't they?
That's right.
So you're feeding the problem.
Now, Greg, last question on the chat. Someone's asked, do you have a website? If they wanted to give this a go, how do they get in touch?
Give them my phone number, email. That link I text you?
Yep.
That's a good one to share. It's got all the information. So if people give their phone numbers, you can hand out my phone number and email. I'll also email them a recording by Dr. Mark de Brincat. He's a brain and spine specialist, and he was that before he had a car accident and ended up in a wheelchair. He is now out of the wheelchair, but his presentation on health at a cellular level is absolutely brilliant. So I wouldn't send people too much information. Those who want the book, because you can't buy the book, The Cure for All Diseases, anymore because they're not allowed to print it. But I've got it in a link that I can share with people. It's a great resource, and I'll send them information on that Zapper and where they can get it. Man in Western Australia makes it, and he's the man to put the link up online. You can buy those books secondhand online, The Cure for Cancer and The Cure for All Diseases. And I got one from America and one from Australia, but they're available secondhand, and they're a good resource for your help. Everyone.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I've just put the link in the chat. Anyone that's on this can get that link out of the chat now, put it in a different browser. And hopefully when this gets uploaded later to YouTube, they'll be able to put that link down the bottom for everybody as well.
Yeah. So in that link that I gave you, there's testimonials, there's presentations by doctors, there's a genesis of ASEA. There's those white papers, the latest research from the 2 universities. And I tell people if they use it the way I suggest and they don't get a result, they'll refund them every cent they spend on it, because it scientifically cannot improve your health. The other one, people that do don't get the same results as others, it's usually because they've got pathogens, and that redox molecule is also the main part of the immune system of all living things, plants and animals. And there's some amazing testimonials for this product on dogs and cats and horses and things. I know some equestrian people, they give it to their horses before they have it themselves because they value the horses so highly. Some ladies up at now when they train some of the top
Horsey girls, right? They'll do anything for their horses.
yes, they train some of the top equestrian horses in Australia.
Wow.
And they love it for that reason.
Greg, I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind.
Oh,
Sorry
not
for
at all.
jumping in, guys. So everything is really coming down to oxygen, yeah, and or a lot of it is coming down to oxygen. And you were saying earlier, you know, the whole thing about breathing and taking it in through the lungs and everything because it's affecting the brain. What about people that have polyps and actually can't breathe properly? And Murray, you were saying you're taping your mouth closed to teach yourself to breathe through the nose,
Yeah,
which for people that have polyps is almost impossible
that's
if
true.
it's at a severe case.
That's
Well,
true.
that's why would you still use it in a nebulizer because all it does is turn it into a vapor, so you can breathe in through the nose or the mouth, and it's going to go into the lungs. But what's caused the polyps, you'll find is, again, it'll be either pollutants or pathogens, but I'd bet now that it's pathogens.
And it's safe to use that for children?
Yes, my daughter used it through a pregnancy, and one lady did a test on the umbilical cord and found it to be healthier than any other umbilical cord she tested.
So really what it comes down to then is working out what is causing the polyps in the first place, whether it be allergies or whatever it may be, and then assist it with the oxygen therapy.
Well, you're going to get more of these redox signaling molecules that are required for the repair and replacement of damaged cells. And that's the polyps are damaged cells. So you're going to repair or replace those damaged cells in the polyps.
Thank you.
And you detox. And see, the other reason I use it in a nebulizer because lung cells are exposed to pollutants 24/7 because they're spraying the air. Our air's not real good. We've got gas heaters and all those sorts of things. So, and because you detox, you're going to be keeping your lungs in premium condition all the time. And that's what you need to do, so to stay healthy, because your ability to perform and recover is governed by oxygen.
So really it is more your lungs than the nose itself that has the polyp issue that will fix the problem.
Yeah, but it's not
in
just
a way.
the oxygen's a material, but you still need those molecules to use that material. Do you understand?
Kind of, getting my head around it.
You've still got nutrients and all different sorts of things, but the oxygen is the main material for repairing cell damage. But you still need the labor, which is the redox molecule. You got the redox molecule, which is, say, the builder, and the oxygen is the bricks to repair that cell damage, or whether it's nutrients or zincs and magnesiums and all those other things we need in our food to maintain good health.
What if they're telling you that you have an autoimmune disorder that is causing it? Can you address that as well?
All autoimmune conditions relate to hormones. And basically they're all caused by worms and parasites again. They control because they release the toxins that cause that hormone chemical imbalance. Like I said, there's 3 signaling systems: cell signaling, muscle signaling, and all your organ signaling. And it's through your hormones. And we have all these foreign chemicals in our food, water, environment, medications, and toxins released from pathogens. It causes that hormone chemical imbalance. And when you detox, that brings that hormone balance back in, and your homeostasis, your pH, and the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels in your blood to the level it should be.
I would add that one of the things I learned when I got unwell myself was that it was caused by something, I was, either interacting with, or, something that I was doing to myself, unbeknownst, whether it was my party lifestyle or all the bad food I was eating or all the drinks I was drinking. So one thing I thought of, which I think really helped me, was just change everything.
Yeah.
If you can change everything, if you can change the food you eat to better food, if you can take out the alcohol or reduce the alcohol, if you can take out or reduce the coffee, if you don't exercise, start exercising. If you change everything, then in that process, there's going to be a good chance that you're going to be avoiding that thing that got you sick in the first place, and then adding therapies, like the redox molecule and things like that. I think, it's going to paint like a more broad picture. You're going to have more success rather than, you know, potentially just looking at one particular product or idea.
Yeah, so if you want to change your health, you've got to change your lifestyle, because you've got that problem because of your lifestyle
Yeah.
originally. Yeah.
All right, great. Greg, that's a wrap, mate. We've punched out the hour. Thank you so much. I've put your number and the website link that you suggested in the chat. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to meeting you in person in October and hearing a little bit more about what you've spoken about tonight. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
I just thank everyone for the opportunity. You put my phone number in there, did you?
In the chat, yeah.
So if people want to text me their email address, I can email them the stuff as well, and I'd be happy to do that. And when people decide they want to buy it, I just help them open their own account with the company, and they get it at a wholesale price, and it gets delivered to their door by Australia Post or one of their people that does the freight for them, on the subcontractors. There's only one distribution joint in Australia. It's at Eastern Creek in Sydney. A lot of people are a little against the product because of the way it's sold. I was that sick, I didn't care how it was sold. Yep. It is sold through multi-level marketing, but 80 or 90% of the people only use the product for their own health and don't share the product. It's not like other companies with network marketing where you buy the product, run parties and all the rest of it. But my mother's 96, still driving and fully independent. She uses a product just for her health. My daughter's basically the same. She doesn't tell anyone, and I'd say 80% of the people don't. But I had one lady that had a cell dividing condition, lymph glands in the groin. She was just on a pension, and because she told a couple of friends and they ordered the product, the company compensated her, and that helped her finance her own product. So there's an opportunity there. I feel a moral obligation to share what I've learned through my pocket and life experiences. And because I know what it's not to lose your independence is not a good feeling. I didn't drive, I didn't swim. When my daughter was a baby, I was having 20 seizures a day. It wasn't safe for me to nurse my own daughter. So if there's something out there that can help people, and we tried many things previously, and eliminated a lot of them beneficial, but none of them where we fully recovered, and now I know why. So and there's a lot of like me that just want to help other people, and because there's some other people have had some extremely amazing conditions. One family, their son at 8 had brain and spine cell dividing condition at 8 years old, and he's got no symptoms now. So there's some very amazing and emotional stories out there. So, and the other thing, it's a bit like in the system where we're in now, where we're all awake, and I can tell you nearly everyone that uses a SEER are awake and lovely people as well, because no one goes through life where they don't suffer some sort of problems. No one goes through life without a cross to bear at some stage. So we're just helping other people.
That's right. You don't get to the promised land without walking through the desert, and building good communities, is very important. And you're actually a sponsor of My Self Reliance as well. So anyone that, wants to support Greg, and try the ASEA product, Greg is also sponsoring My Self Reliance, which is really, really wonderful, because, without us all helping each other out, we're going to get nowhere. So thank you for that, Greg.
Pleasure. I look
Thank
forward to
you.
meeting everyone else that was on there
Thanks,
tonight.
Mids. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
See you, mate. Thanks for the
Thank
chat.
you.
G'day, guys. It's Murray here from Country Meats Direct. Hope you're all doing well, and I hope you love grass-fed and grass-finished T-bone steaks. I've brought up some of Dad's beef to him on his farm, the beautiful Taralba Park. As you can see, he's over there watering some new trees he's planted. But today's post isn't about his beef. It's about the My Self Reliance Summit, which is on the weekend of the 18th of October, where yours truly won't be cooking grass-fed and grass-finished steaks. I will be cooking a whole lamb on a spit on the Sunday. So get down there to enjoy some great food and some great company. Hope to see you there. Bye.